Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast brought to you by the Adventure Archive. My name is Ryan.
And I'm Kirby. Hello.
And today we are going to be going over the rules-lite horror ttrpg Squishy. This is from Emmett Kiernan with art from Mike Wassian and design from Die Sugars, whose name is on a lot of stuff that I've been finding recently. So they do a fantastic job. So this is a fun one.
Yeah, for sure.
I think every time you come on, we chat a little bit about like what the heck are we going to do? And we decided to do a horror episode this time because we're also going to be chatting about what else are we chatting about today?
Dead Horse Magazine, but I'll just leave it there so everybody can have their I don't want to say dirty things on your stream, so whistles wetted.
There you go.
I don't know.
That's good. So yeah, so we're going to hop into Squishy. My phone just said reminder, you're supposed to be doing this right now. So thank you for letting me know. We're gonna hop into that. Squishy's fun. It's really fucking fun. This is one of the ones that was put out from Exalted Funeral. It's got the little Exalted Funeral tag on the back here. But there's been some. I think there's 3 adventures, and I know that 2 have been printed because I have them. And there's a third one on Emmett Itch. I can't remember what the itch is now. We'll find it at the end, but it's like Sugar Render or something like that. We'll make sure we send that link out. But 2 of them are really fun. The first one, they're all really fun, is called Dance Till You're Dead. This is a big, gorgeous zine. Very different art style and than the Squishy zine itself. It definitely has like this kind of amalgamation of like different things, but it's really neat, very artsy. And then we were just talking about Halloween Babysitter. These are both, these are all Exalted. Really, really fun little zine.
The Halloween Babysitter is like, I said this before we started the stream, but this is one of my favorite game books that I own because of how fun it is to just look at. Like it's like a comic book for like a 12-year-old.
But like
awesome.
But like murder, like
for a murderous 12-year-old, obviously.
Yeah, it's really, really neat, really interesting. It's got a lot of fantastic art, some really cool spreads. But the beginning really is a comic. Like there literally is like a comic in the beginning of it. So really cool, really neat. This is a fun game. This is definitely going on the list of games that, fuck, if I could just start one, then we'll get a series going. But this is one of the ones that is absolutely going to be going.
Yeah,
maybe if I start talking about it, on here, maybe it'll force me to actually do it. I have a plan to start a series called Side Quests, which is a lot of these, especially rules-like games we've gone over, where we get to review them, but maybe a lot of people haven't played them, or there's not like a lot of APs for them. Really want to have like a 1 to 2 sessions for each one and bounce through a lot of the games that, when we review them, we're like, fuck, I want to play this super bad, or I've read this a bunch of times and haven't had the opportunity. Really want to do that. This is definitely going to go on that because it's so light, so easy, super quick. So why don't we just hop into it and we'll get crack-a-lackin'.
Yeah.
Boom. So this is Squishy, a quick start horror game. First of all, vibes, immaculate. Love it.
Yeah. This is my shit right here. Like the art style of this, I'm already trying to contact Mike Wazion about doing art for Dead Horse.
Yeah,
just so good. And I mean, I have a, I don't know if you can see this, but a little Crypt Keeper head tattoo on my arm. And as I was looking through this, I was reminded of that tattoo. I was like, this is like very similar art style. I love it.
Yeah, well, they're on Twitter at Corpsemonger. I found them earlier, so definitely want to check out there. But their style is definitely that very far out there, gross, like punk. I don't know. Well, the punk. I'm not going to get into that, but like it's there's a genre of this kind of art that's really I love the shit out of. I know that some people
Repugnant's got similar stuff.
Yeah, Repugnant has that. There's a lot of the stuff from Below Dwelling Sewer Mutants has that kind of like slime gore-ness to it. So really, really fantastic art, and it really suits this game incredibly well. And because the game itself is super fucking light, the rules are like only just a couple of pages, and the rest of it is just more add-ons to it. But hopping into it, I really love the design of it all the way through as well. I will say one thing that is in the PDF, but that is also on here that I would have liked a little bit differently, but it's not a big deal. The table of contents is the back cover. Would have really liked actually to see this page, which is kind of like this kind of like hexcomb grid over the interior art or the cover art on the back, and maybe this replaced by the table of contents. But that's about the only bit that was a little bit different for me. It is a short enough zine that it does have bookmarks, but it doesn't have hyperlinks. But again, it's literally like 20-30 pages, so that's not a huge drop off on a short zine like this. But again, overall, really love the layout and graphic design of this mixed with the art style. So hopping in quick, let's play a horror game. A rules-lite system for those who want to run a survival horror scenario in a pinch. Squishy's good for players who want a challenging experience without a lot of number crunching. For ttrpg newbies and veterans. For large groups if you want. It's a D10 system. And most important, the system is super quick. Character creation is very abstracted. If you are one of those grognards that really likes to just, jerk off with your fucking dice, this is not the game for you. This is extremely abstracted, and I really enjoy that for a lot of the rules-lite style stuff.
Yeah, this when I was reading through it earlier today, I realized how different this is than a lot of the other games that I have that are extremely rules-lite. Even what was the last one we did together? I fucking remember.
I don't know, every time we do one, you're like, man, I would make a whole game for this. Like,
yeah,
so
right?
I don't know.
But no, the last one we did. I wish I could remember off the top of my head because I don't want to wait. I don't want to just sit here thinking about it. But I remember thinking like, wow, this game is so cool because it's so just simplistic. Like everything is just so easy and simple, and the numbers just make sense. But like, I love this even more because of how the numbers are basically irrelevant. Like it's literally like, yeah, just just get, like, if it works, then you just say it's a 10. Like like some of the shit's like that, and I love that.
Yeah, I'm completely blanking on what we did for the last one, because the one we did prior to that, which was one of the first times you were on that we really did like a really deep dive, I think, was when we did Slipgate Checkpoint.
We did that. We did Packs and Blades, Deadbolt.
Packs and Blades, yeah.
And then
it must have been Packs and Blades.
Maybe it was Packs and Blades. Was that the last one? I don't want to fill time talking about it, but yeah, I was just trying to remember. Like, I was just thinking about that. How I love the games that are so simple, but then this one just takes that in a different direction, where it's like it's so simple that you could just make shit up, make the rules up while you play, like make the numbers up. It doesn't fucking matter. Like.
Well, that's the thing, is like the numbers for a lot of the time don't matter, and it's a really interesting way to run a game, especially for, like, it specifically says this is for people that don't want to do a whole lot of number crunching, and that's really cool. So so character creation really expounds on that, and again, man, I love the graphic design throughout this. I think that if this is I believe it was Die that did a lot of this, the mix of their graphic design with Mike Wassian's art throughout this entire thing is just perfect. Like, perfect.
Yeah.
I even really love this texture that they put on all of the pages, so it's not just like a plain white. It's so much nicer on the eyes and so much nicer in the design that it's really cool. So this is character creation. We got a couple of big pieces with, like, I don't know, weird deformed children rotting with needles in their heads and stuff.
Love it.
A lot of the zine has this kind of like green, like almost like a dark chartreuse color throughout. That's really beautiful. So character creation, jump into a world of survival horror in 6 simple steps. Love when we get a list of steps. Skate wizards. Thank you, Ozo. Yep. Skate wizards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that shit. Yeah. So damn, you're almost getting double digits on some of these episodes, man. That is why you are our de facto third host. Yeah. So, step 1, the GM lets the players know what time period and basic setting the game takes place in, and gives them a moment to come up with a character idea and name. That's it. So I could be like, hey, we're doing Jack the Ripper era Victorian England. think of a name and a character idea, and you can be like, okay, well then I'm gonna be some, I'll be like a detective or whatever, and boom, there's your whole fucking shit. Yeah. Step 2, the GM asks players to write down the following list on a piece of paper. Why don't you make a fucking character while we do this? Are you down for that, or do you want to?
Yeah.
All
no,
right. So, okay. So then, why don't we just stick with like let's just do 90s small America, classic kind of like Nightmare Before Elm Street,
Halloween.
There you go. Yeah, let's do that. So that is the time period and basic setting. We're talking about suburban America, mid-October, Halloween creeping up. Decorations are already out in the mid 90s, we'll say. Yeah. So that's it. So what is your
Hollingswood, Indiana? That's where we're gonna go. Hollingswood.
Perfect. So what is a character idea that you want to have for that? You want to be like a teenager? You want to be like the
let's say I'm gonna be the mechanic's daughter. Okay. She's gonna be like super beefy and super like technical.
Gotcha.
But extremely not savvy with like her attitude. Going real tomboy style.
I was gonna say, so what we used to call tomboy in the 90s?
Yeah. Back in the 90s we called them tomboys, yeah.
Yeah, versus, Anyway, so step 2, the GM asks the players to write down the following list on a piece of paper. So I need you to write down on that same paper. Gotcha. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 stats, right? The first is brains. The second is brawn. The third is moxie. The fourth is handiness. The fifth is combat, and the final one is survival. Those are your stats. That's it. You got 6 stats, 6-stat system, and that's what it is. And then step 3, the GM asks the players to write the following descriptors next to each stat, matching them in a way that best describes how that character might play. What I think would be really fun with this would be like almost like a serial killer, like letter cut from a magazine character sheet, where I literally hand a little package to players, and these are actually cut out already, and then they can just do the lines and shit.
I think Squishy needs some disaster tourism supplemental material.
There you go. So I would have the 6 there, and then I would have the other ones, and you would literally, and I would hand a glue stick to you, and you would literally just glue stick, and you would slap these like descriptions next to the stat. So so these are the descriptors you put next to each of yours. You have shit, kind of bad, kind of good, okay, great, and superstar. So you match those with your stats. And that is how that works. There are numbers, but that is as far as you like. It determines like what you need to roll for this D10 system. So once you have all those down, tell me in order which ones you went with which ones. Like which stat got what. Yeah.
I'm gonna go superstar for brawn, and great for handiness.
Okay.
Brains okay. Combat kind of good. Survival kind of bad. And then moxie is shit.
That sounds like the buff tomboy mechanic's daughter. That's a good one. Yeah. I like that. So in the next section, we'll break down what this means numbers-wise, but it should be enough to keep the casual players happy. And it says, see page 4 for the descriptor table. So this will just kind of explain on the next page what all of that means. I really love the next page and just, first of all, again, how it's laid out, which is gorgeous. But the descriptors here. So step 4, the GM asks the players to write something that they're especially good at or especially bad at relating to each descriptor. So this can be written in brackets next to the descriptor. So the examples here, they have handiness, combat, and brains. So for handiness, it says it could mean art or mechanical engineering or hacking, which I assume for yours, since you're the mechanic's daughter, it's going to be like machine tinkering or something like that.
Yeah.
Combat could...
Yeah, machines.
Yeah, so combat could be hand to hand or a specific gun or melee. So it's more specific. You're basically picking your like if these are your abilities, you're picking the skills that are associated with it, and you get like one really good one, right? So brains could be wit, toughness, medical knowledge, or even psychic powers. So again, you could have like the mechanical handiness bit to it, and if you want for the brains, you could have that be like the actual know-how, like whatever, if that's how you are, something like that. Yeah. So especially good at or especially bad at relating to each descriptor. So if you have like shit and stuff like that, you should put like what you're super shit at for each one as well. So there's a section here that says, "Hey GM." So this is talking to the GM. It says, "Let them know that they will get bonuses when they try to carry out actions related to their specialty." Right? But if they try to roll for something related to a stat that is too far removed from their chosen specialty, it won't be quite as good a margin for success. This is called a stray roll. The bonus debuff effects for specialty and stray rolls are reversed for the negative descriptors, right? So that stray rolls are the ones that's the only part that I was a little bit like I had to reread. Yeah, someone in the chat said brains equals toughness. I think that might be in the sense of like being smart enough to like evade or something like that, being smart in combat as opposed to like your physical like toughness or more like a will thing. Like as opposed to physically being tough. I think will probably is a good interpretation for that. So the stray rolls are the only ones that when we get to it we'll chat about a lot, because I just want to make sure I have that correct in my mind. So what did you want to go through all of yours, or are you good with just going through just the first couple? So what did you pick for your specialties in each one?
So brains I had okay, so my specialty is problem solving. Brawn was my superstar, so that one is heavy lifting engine blocks and shit. Moxie is my shit, so flirting. Handiness I am great at, so I chose machines and machine parts, that kind of thing. Combat I'm kind of good at, so I chose baseball bat as like just a standard thing, swinging, hitting, that kind of shit. And then survival was kind of bad, and that would be planning ahead.
Okay, I like that. Those are great. That's fantastic. So those are your your specialties that go with your stats, that go with your descriptors, that go with all of that. So that's great. So that's most of character creation right there. So step 5 is the first dice roll. Each player rolls a D100, and that is your luck. So hit me with that D100.
Shit, I don't have a D100 out. You're gonna have to do it. I don't have a D100 handy.
No worries. I will throw a D. Actually, you know what? Just do exclamation point D100 in chat. I do believe that I have
done 62.
62. Boom. I also, while we're rolling dice and stuff, I'll show off this real quick. I just got this from Critical Machines. This is my new electronic dice roller. Yeah. That cool. Is really dope. I'll unplug this real quick and throw it in. So basically, when you have like the dice that you need to roll, I could just hit D100 and it'll give me a D100. So really, really fun little thing I got here from Critical Machines across the pond. Anyway, so you got a 62. So this is your luck. This is your stay alive money. This is points that you can spend to pass rolls that you missed, or if you straight up die from one of the GM's more deadly monsters, you can choose to set your luck to 0 and continue onward. In a game, be sure to describe in detail what would have happened if they didn't burn their luck. So basically, when you have 62 points to make rolls successes or to not die with. That's what luck is. And then step 6, get them to write down HP next to their name and draw a box next to it. If that box, in that box, they can fill in how much HP they have. If you want this to be more of an action-oriented D&D style smack the monsters type game, you might want to let them take their bronze stat as their HP, or even roll a D100 and take whatever they get. But seeing as this game is called Squishy, I recommend giving them all a flat starting HP of 16, make death only be 1 or 2 hits away. It always makes combat far more interesting. I like that. We'll just say HP 16. You good with that? And that's mostly... And so essentially, that's sort of it. And then there's a really cool, extraordinarily gruesome piece of art here, which is just like a face, but it's like, oh, it almost looks like a shotgun blast went to it, but it's got like a 3D-ness to the gore that's fantastic. And then there is a stat table on this page. I think in the context of the zine itself in spreads, this page, ties right into the next one, which it says... Another basically full page piece, but it just says beyond the 6 steps. So if that's all you wanted to do, you could play the game like that. There's a whole section here where it's like full page art, full page art, full page art. It's a nice batch right in the middle of a lot of really good art. But there is more that you can do. What did you pick for your name for your character?
Oh shit, I didn't pick a name. Let me see. Is there, I think there's a name generator in the back, isn't there? Or no, it's not. It's not a name generator.
No, it's
a other stuff generator.
Random tables, yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna pick the name of the person who wrote the Halloween Babysitter, Valkyrie T. Luff Crew. I'm gonna say my name is Valkyrie.
There you go. Friends call you Val?
Yes.
Boom. Thumbs up. So you got Val. All right. So that's the core of the game right there. And then there's more, which I really like. I like the extra little nitty gritty bits here. So you can peep the next section to see how all of the stat descriptors function when it comes to dice rolls, and then start playing. So these are necessary parts, actually. There are some ideas for how to run monsters just ahead on page 8 too, and some ideas for different kinds of magic systems on page 18. I'm gonna with some of these smaller ones, I'm just gonna start hyperlinking shit. So
think about mods, that art,
oh my god, dude. Yeah. This is the piece I used for the socials. Like, yeah, it's just it's
the maggots really, in the eyes and stuff. Oh my god.
It's fantastic. Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn the zoom off and really get this one in there for people. It's like, look how gruesome that is. It's so good. And the art color is so vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love, again, like, this is the kind of stuff for small zines that really hits that vibe stat that we're going to be talking about later. Because with a lot of the small zines, I know there's a little bit of discourse around art in tabletop role-playing games, but it's really nice to have something. It's really nice to have something that really pulls you into the game when you have a thing that is this small. So mods and mechanics. There are also extra mods you can add to character creation and gameplay related to what your ideal playstyle and tone is. There's sanity and fear, experience and leveling, and psi/magic. I love sanity and fear for sure. Yeah. And the psi magic one, experience and leveling is really if you want to do more than just one shots, and the psi magic is if you want to have psychic and magic stuff in your game, which, I think in a lot of horror I wouldn't, but it would depend on like the setting. If I was really going to lean into something more like Lovecraftian, or like put this more into like a quasi, medieval, or sword and sorcery kind of like Black God's Kiss setting, I would definitely have that. But if it's like 90s, suburbia, I don't know if I'd have like psi and magic. But I like that there are options to both have it and not have it, and it doesn't break the game either way.
Yeah, and they do go over a couple of different options of each of those too later on as well, in different ways you can incorporate them. Low magic, high magic, that kind of shit too. So
yeah, absolutely. So we'll hit all that as we get there. So these will add extra steps to character creation, although some of these can be brought up mid-game. And they say that we'll explicitly point out when this is applicable, though, so don't worry. And of course, feel free to add any hacks or mods. Another great piece of art in the bottom left of the page here. It's got a very... Gosh, like I don't even know how to describe.
Swim from the 90s, like that kind of shit.
This is like the 90s. This is screams 90s right in my face. This is the kind of shit that you would see from like Like someone in like 11th grade who's rocking like a smells like children shirt, like on the back of their fucking notebook. You know what I mean? Um, so dice rolls. When a player, NPC, or monster has to take an action, such as attacking, fleeing, boarding up a window, or driving a vehicle, so pretty much anything, they might be called on to roll a dice. To pass a dice roll, a player must roll a d100, and if the number they roll is under the number associated with their descriptor, they succeed. If they roll over the number, but less than 15 points over, the GM might find it in their heart to grant them either a light failure or a mixed success, depending on context. And if they roll under 10% on anything other than shit, they get a critical success. If they roll over 90% on anything other than a superstar skill, they crit fail. So this is the only part that does get like a tiny bit crunchy. It's like you really do need to look at this table and bounce the math off of it. So I want to do a couple of example rolls just to see where we're at with stuff. So real quick first, though, helpful tip in the sake of the flow of the game requires, don't be afraid to let a player pass a roll for something they're good at automatically. If they only fail by a few points, let them off with a light fail. So I like that there is a buffer for mixed success. Mixed success is one of my favorite mechanics in tabletop games, so always love when that's in a game. But we see right away that the core for this is a D100 roll under system, right? And then the stats that you had, really the number doesn't matter as much as the percentage based on what you chose, which is interesting. So you don't ever have a flat number. Yeah. Right? Am I wrong?
No, I mean, it is kind of always a flat number. It's basically always going to be a flat number. You're always going to be doing something, except for if you're using a specialty in that specific instance. So if I'm using my brawn to do some bullshit, right, like push open a door or something, I could probably apply my specialty to that because it's lifting heavy objects. I could make an argument for that. So I'd be rolling under 85. Whereas if it was going to be, I don't know, pulling a rope or climbing a wall, that might be just a regular base, which would only be 75. So I think that's and the stray is like, I think that's like the hardest one, right?
That's if you, for example, like if you have to roll a survival roll and specifically related to like planning ahead or something, and that's the shit that you had, then you get stray. Or like if your specialty was like mechanical tinkering or whatever, for handiness, but the actual skill is maybe like, what's something that's the polar opposite of like mechanical tinkering, like PC hacking or something, that would be like a brain skill or something. Like you would potentially roll a stray on that. You would be going for stray. Yeah. But see, this is the part where I'm like, I really want to go over something and go. So you don't have like you're never going to write down, for example, or I guess maybe you could always write down, for example, like the numbers next to it. But let's say that what you just did for an example, right? So we get to a door that you have to push open, right? So you're going to do a brawn roll, right? And what's your specialty in brawn?
My specialty is heavy lifting.
Heavy lifting. So we would say pushing the door open, right? So you're saying that will probably fit your specialty. So you roll a D100 and you just have to get less than 85.
Yeah.
Right. So, but if you get within 10 of 85, you get a critical success.
A mixed success. Critical success.
No.
You're right. You're right. Sorry, I missed that last part. Yeah.
So you're within 10 points of the actual thing.
Well, no, other than superstar, right? You can't roll. Hold on.
Oh yeah, because you can't wait. So this is what I'm saying. This is the only part that gets a tiny bit confusing. If they roll over the number but less than 15 points over, you get a mixed success, right? If they roll under 10%, no, that's literally under 10. So you would have to roll under 10 on anything less than shit. It's a critical success, and if you roll over 90 on anything other than superstar, it's a crit fail. So those are flat numbers. You roll under 10 or 10%, you roll over 90. So if you were to roll an 80, you succeed, right? But if you were to roll a 87, you would fail, but I could potentially give you a mixed success because you're within 15 points of rolling over. and then say that you're rolling something. What is a stat that you're kind of good at?
Kind of good is my combat, so like baseball bat. So
Okay, so whenever you're trying
yeah.
to attack a monster with your baseball bat, right, you have to roll under 40%. Well, no, because it's your specialty, under 45, but say you picked
Right.
up a crowbar instead or something,
Yeah,
you would
it would
then
be
have
cool.
to roll under a 40%.
Or if it
Here
was
we
a
go.
dagger or like something lightweight that's super like, you know, fast,
Yeah.
I would be rolling a 30, prob under 30
Right, yeah, 'cause
because
I would definitely say stray would be, yeah,
yeah.
like a pokey thing versus a baseball
Yeah.
bat. Yeah, you pick up a dagger, and yeah, you would have to roll under a 30%. So okay,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. Just talking through it. So basically, this graph here gives you the flat numbers for everything that you want. You could theoretically also just write these down next to your stats too on your character sheet to just say what your stray specialty is. But I guess you don't even really need to. You could just have this sitting out for players, and they would just always know what it is.
Yeah,
Like
just
I
a
would
quick
almost
reference card or something. Just I was gonna say that just
yeah,
that page you could have as a little quick reference card on the table.
yeah. I would just print
But
that
even
out,
that,
fold
like,
it over. Yeah.
yeah, even that like doesn't really matter because you just like ask them what it is, you reference it on the roll, and you're good. Like, because it's
Yeah.
really irrelevant to the players what the number is. It's all on the GM's side to decide. You know, does this number match the thing? Good, done. Like that's
I love that a lot. You know what I think would be a fun way to GM this too is to go full like quasi narrative with it for the players, and literally just have the GM roll all of these behind a screen and just have the players say like, well, what do you want to do? And then I would hit my button on my new critical machine or whatever for a D100, and I'll say, ooh, like that's what you tried to do, like this was the outcome of it, and they could just go with never having to roll dice on their own at all if they really didn't want to, because as a GM all you have to do is hit D100 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 for everything. That'd be really fun to do too, because then that lets the players, and it lets the players stay completely immersed the entire time. They never have it broken up by dice, and they never have to be like, ooh, wait, did I hit a 35? Did I hit a 32 or whatever? It could just be like, here's what you tried, here's what worked and what didn't. That'd be a really fun way to play this game.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the core mechanic. You assign all of your stuff. You get a number when you attempt something. You have to roll under based on if it was your specialty, your base skill, or a stray roll if you're really bad at that thing. And then that's the whole game. Next, we get into the monsters, which are also, somewhat abstracted. To jog your imagination, we're going to break monsters into 4 categories. I love the 4 categories of monsters. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. It's like a super easy way to now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of did something similar with Guild, but it's just a super easy way to just categorize your bestiary, and then when you get your supplements, people just reference the category, add their own bonuses to it, and then you end up with the phasing hunter or something like that, right? Like, it's I love that concept. I think that like core rule books that have extremely extensive bestiaries and magic spell lists and all that stuff, I think are kind of just over, like it's not necessary. Let people use their creativity to come up with that kind of stuff.
I mean, I agree to a point on that, but what I really like from a core rule book is like an okay bestiary, because I like to know the context of what the creators were thinking when they write monsters and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But what I really love to see is a page on how to build their own beast. Like Fallen has that. I'm pretty sure Pax and Blades had one where like, here's how to quick do one or whatever. I really, really like that a lot, where it specifically says like, to make a quick monster, pick the level, pick this, pick that. When we looked at just yesterday, when we went over Vaults of Varn from Leo Hunt, there was a whole page on how the adversary worked and adversary types, and I really like that. And then like a decent sized bestiary, but not too much. It's definitely not fucking 5e and anyway. So the 4 monsters are broken down into the Horde, the Stalker, the Overlord, and a special monster. So going over those real quick, the Horde is the lowest tier. They come with a lot of different varieties, or they add variety to the game. They are lethal, but they have low HP, maybe even dying after 1 or 2 hits. So they're almost like kind of like quote unquote minion style, depending on the weapon used, and they should be relatively numerous and give the impression of being relentless. Have you ever seen Wonder Egg Priority, the anime?
No.
For anyone out there who has seen Wonder Egg Priority, first of all, good job. And second, the bouncy things, the first time she goes in there, that's what I imagine.
Fucking weeb. No, I'm just kidding. I love
Yeah.
anime.
So so I love the Horde. They're basically supposed to be super low level, not a whole lot of hit power, but just a shitload of them, and that's why they're called the Horde. And I love that where you run into maybe one or two, you think it's easy, you turn the corner, and then there's like 10 more, and then behind you there's like 10 more, and then to your right there's like 10 more, and you're like, fuck, you know. I love that vibe, and there's a cool little piece of art next to it. The next is the Stalker monster, and it says the Stalker should hunt the players over multiple encounters to provide a counterpoint to the challenge of the Horde. If the Horde is fast and small, the Stalker should be tall and slow. If the Horde is dim-witted, the Stalker should be terrifyingly intelligent, and the Stalker's attack should be lethal, and it should be extremely hard to kill. So it's literally supposed to be the direct opposite of the Horde, and I feel like it's one of the ones that should hop in, take a big strike, and then like bounce out, and the players should constantly fear that it's going to drop in on them again. The Overlord is the commander of the Horde, the main manifestation of evil, and an unknowable ancient horror, and is the ultimate bioweapon, whatever it is. And if you're playing with Sanity, witnessing the Overlord should be a huge danger to the mental and emotional well-being of non-monster characters. An attack should be fatal, and should either require a special weapon, ritual, or trap to defeat, or be completely unstoppable. The DM should drop hints and tease your Lord's presence throughout the game. So this is literally the BBEG. This is the final thing. This is the worst of the worst, and literally just looking at it fucks you up. And then there is the Special. The Special is a monster that looks, acts, and plays differently to any other creature in this session. It might be a spiritual entity that attacks a player's sanity and fear. Could be invisible or gigantic, or have a projectile attack. It could be spreading fungus or disease. It could be a hallucination or alien implant trying to overcome the player's personalities. Feel like the players want to have the rug pulled out from underneath them. Bring out the Special. So that's the 4 core monsters, and I love that spread for all games, but also for like horror games specifically. I think it's really dope.
That top bar all the way across that just says monsters. It's just, it's great.
So cool. This whole thing is really great. Is this actually viewable in 2-page scrolling spreads? No, see, I hate this. And that's why I don't do it in spreads a lot, because it doesn't break off the first one, the first page. But anyway, yes, I completely agree. It looks... it's really, again, the graphic design throughout this is really fucking good. Yeah. But what are your thoughts on these 4 monster types?
I think they're great. I love, like I said before, I love the way that I think a lot of games are kind of moving into using categorized like monsters and weapons and other things like that. Like I just feel like that's the best way to go. But they do a great job of explaining in the description the various ways that you can use these, which is good, because it's also kind of like feeding examples to the people reading, like this is how you do it without telling you how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I like that.
I do really feel like there's an interesting move in tabletop games and stuff in general that's kind of like often like unsaid, almost like unsaid, dealing with it, I can describe it, where everyone hated 4th edition D&D, and now a lot of people are putting stuff in their game that is literally just 4th edition D&D. Like having more gamey bits to it, having minion monsters, having like once per like encounter powers and things like that. I think it's really interesting that everyone shit on 4E so hard, and now they're basically saying everything wrong with 5E. They should just fix it by doing X, and X is just 4E. So these kind of speak to me a little bit in the way that does, where there's literally just like minion monsters and stuff. And the spread of the monsters here is really fantastic. I love that the Horde is going to be your base bad guys, and there's a ton of them. The Stalker is going to be, you know, the mid-level baddie that's going to come for you all the time. There's the final Overlord boss, and then like just the weirdo special one that's going to pop out a bunch. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, and there's enough flexibility in there too, where you can just be like, you know, I might mix some of the Overlord's like not powers, but like concept of like being whatever it is into the stalker or even into the horde. Like maybe the horde has one guy that's like slightly bigger and more mutated than the rest, and he's like an offshoot of the overlords, like, you know, appendix. It like fell out of his stomach and became its own thing or something. You know, you could do weird
Right.
stuff like that, and you know, the rules are so simple and open that it's very easy to do that with.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Next is the section on how to run monsters and combat, which is really great. That is one thing that Zine does really well, is it tells you like how easy it is to do it, and it gives you plenty of examples. But like when we get into the right after this, I love that they do examples here. But basically, monsters have three main stats. They have speed, horror, and ferocity. Speed could be rolled with a chase, within chase or combat for dodging, right? If the monster's very fat. Fast horror could be rolled against a player's brains or survival to try and frighten them. And then ferocity is like a combination of their combat survival stat. So again, pretty broad, pretty abstracted. Definitely gives you enough information for running those three, but gives you a ton of freedom in the way that you build your creature and the way that you want them to run in combat. Hit points. They also have them. A good quick way of running hit points is to give the monsters a small pool of HP that is difficult to whittle down. I really like this part. This is interesting. A horde monster could have 1 to 3 HP, and every time a player succeeds a combat roll against a creature, the GM should tell them to roll a number of D10, depending on how they feel the strength of the weapon used and success of the attack would be, to indicate damage. For every multiple of 10, the creature loses 1 HP. Every multiple of 5 dictates how staggered by the attack the enemy is, and it's staggered is highlighted, so we'll get into that. This is interesting. I think there are, in my opinion, there might be like easier ways to do this. One way, if they're going to have 1 to 3 HP, and then they're like you're rolling a number of D10s or whatever for damage. Honestly, for a lot of these, I would just have no damage rolls at all, and just say like a successful combat roll just takes away one of the creature's HPs. Like that's it. So like it would take one, if your horde monster has 2 HP, 2 successful combat rolls would kill it. Like, and I would not worry about damage. I think that's a really super easy way to do it.
Yeah.
But that does kind of take away the stagger thing. So this basically says like, because the part that really I think is maybe it's a little too abstracted. I think a little too hand wavy is this part here where it says, if the player succeeds against a creature, the GM should tell them to roll a number of D10 depending on how they feel the strength of the weapon used and success of the attack would be. So like you're hitting with a baseball bat, and I'm like, well, I feel like you did maybe 2 D10s worth of damage with the baseball bat on that hit. But then later I'll be like, well, now I feel like you maybe did 4 D10s worth of damage. Like that's a little, maybe like for rules-lite, that's a little bit too hand wavy for me. Like I do like a little bit more structure than we'll... Tell me how hard you think you feel like you hit. You know, that's just a bit too abstracted for me.
I actually read this the opposite way. I read this that the GM should tell the player to roll a number of D10 based on how strong the player feels like their weapon is.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe that's... Well, that wasn't what you were saying, right? I thought you were saying...
No, it is. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying the GM
either player
is
or
making
GM.
that...
Either way.
Okay.
Either way, yeah.
I was thinking when I read it, and I thought and I was reading it as the player making that determination. I actually really like that because it kind of gives that like, it kind of takes that narrative control back away from the GM a little bit, where like the player, you know, which is for me, I'm fine with that in some cases, and I kind of like it because it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the players should have a little more control, and sometimes I feel like they shouldn't, and I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work. It doesn't work in a lot of games, but I don't know. Maybe it works well on this one. I guess we'll find out when we play it on side quests.
I think the only thing that I would really need to make that just a little bit less hand wavy is context. You know what I mean? Like what? How would you say that you picked gun, right, and the other person picked bat? Like as a player or a GM, if you're letting the player decide, they're choosing how well their gun did versus another player who's choosing how well their bat did, and their context of the D10s could be like a little bit different. So then the GM is at least that center point for whatever, for consistency at least. So I think that's all it's missing is context of like how many d10s is considered a really hard hit and how many d10s is considered like a weak hit. If if there was a line in here that basically said like 4d10 is considered really strong, then I would go, okay, based on just that one line, I can say contextually I know what a baseball bat versus a bazooka is, and then I can understand a little bit more. That's the part where I feel like is maybe just a little bit too hand wavy.
I feel like you'd have a 30% chance of one-shotting a creature with 3 HP if you had 3d10.
Potentially. Potentially.
So yeah, I would say that 2 or 3 d10 really would be a strong hit. Or
wait a second. Yeah, I was going to say average because it literally says they should have low HP, maybe even dying from 1 to 2 attacks.
Yeah.
So if 3d10 would be like kind of like an average-ish attack, because the odds of you rolling, 30 are pretty low, right? Because it says every multiple of 10. So if you roll 3d10 and get 20, that's 2 HP down. But if you roll 15, that's 1 HP down and they're staggered. That feels okay-ish. But again, we're still talking about like we're sitting down and having to figure all of that out here instead of having something just say like 3d10 is an average hit. You know what I mean? So
you know what? The more you talk about it, the more I actually kind of like it. Because it's like, wait, hold on. If I roll 2d10 and I roll a 15, I get 1 HP and it's staggered. Like, I think that's actually kind of cool. But I do think that you're right. I do think it is maybe just a tad. It needs just a little something, but just not a ton, and it could be individualized to your table. But this is that fine line in rules-lite that goes from abstracted to hand wavy, and I love abstracted, but hand wavy is where like it starts to get a little too blurry for me. But yeah. So retreat. If the combat roll goes under the creature's ferocity, the creature might make a ferocity saving throw to avoid being forced to retreat. This only counts if the creature isn't mindless. So you can actually make like the stalk or retreat or something if you get a combat roll and force them away. I like this page too, how it's split into like the black and white, and then it has these like cards of like different monsters across the bottom. Yeah.
Really love that. Great piece of art here with like a house with those cards kind of in the windows, and then this like gruesome, just horrific eldritch creature and like creatures coming up over the top of the house. Yeah, and this is an example of a block of monsters for a game of Squishy. I love this entire section here. As this is a really great way. It has an example of monsters. It also has an example kind of adventure that it does. Like, this is one of the best ways I've seen to describe this kind of like abstracted rules-lite, to give all of the context that we're just talking about, going through it. I really loved all of this. So it says, example of a block of monsters for a game of Squishy. And so Kelsey, the GM, was able to convince their friends to allow them to run a game of Squishy. Their setting is a haunted mansion run by an insane, immoral doctor. They quickly get to work creating the horrors that will plague their players. The pronoun usage here is really nice. So this literally walks through as if you are from the mind of the GM Kelsey, creating the characters and why you would create them the way you did. So clever, right? So the horde is the melon heads. If we scroll down, it is these children that look like they've been turned inside out, with these giant fucking heads. Like, so it's got a very kind of like disgusting, what are the gross Cabbage Patch Kids? Garbage Pail Kids?
Garbage Pail Kids, yeah.
It looks like a Garbage Pail Kid's been turned inside out. So Kelsey, the GM, decides to use the urban legend The Melon Heads to inspire the mansion's horde. The description is a gaggle of children who have been experimented on, their heads becoming bulbous, their flesh rotting away, their hunger becoming insatiable. And Kelsey has decided to make them fast, hard to hit, but weak to damage, cowardly, and weak without a weapon. So she stats them. So they stat them thusly. They have 1 HP. By the end of the game, they'll be attacking in fairly large groups. So Kelsey reckons there's no sense to making them too hard to kill. Because the Melonhead's innocent childlike looks, Kelsey makes a mental note to have the players make a fear save anytime they kill one. because they look like little kids. So it's going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
The speed of the monsters is set to 65% because they're supposed to be fast, but not insanely fast. The horror is 50%. Because she figures over time they become less frightening. And they set the modifier to -5% horror for each following encounter. So it's 50% to start, and then each time you encounter them, you reduce it by 5. And then ferocity is 45%. Because, yeah, if they have a kitchen knife or whatever, Kelsey thinks, jotting down that without weapons, their ferocity is 30%. As well as they do 1d10 damaged armed and unarmed. So there's a little bit of context right there for d10 damage. So a slash by a little melonhead kid with a dagger or with their fist or whatever is only 1d10 damage.
Yeah.
So there comes in a little bit of the context. Next is the stalker, which is the crawler. They're small, they're fat. They're supposed to be small. No, the melonheads are small and fast. So this should be slow and heavy. It's an early experiment. It's a psionic crawler that drags itself around and moans in pain. She's going to make it slow, relentless, high HP, and can break down doors and use psychic powers. So it's got HP 5, slow to attack, slow to maneuver, not great at sneaking up on players, soaks a lot of damage, so it's a lot higher than the kids. Kelsey reckons, though, that if the players can blow up the brain or turn the brain on, or set the brain on fire, it'll drop to 1 HP. So the speed is 25% because it's slow. The horror is 65% because it is more scary. And the ferocity is 75% because it's harder to kill. Its main attack is an instant kill, but it takes 2 turns to complete. It picks up a victim and then either slams them on the ground or tears them apart. So again, you are squishy. It can kill you in 2 hits.
Jesus.
Right? So polar opposite of the melonheads, really cool. Overlord is the doctor. Great piece of art here. I feel like that's almost like the guy from the art from the main page we showed earlier. The doctor is the villain. They're half rotten, half embalmed, corporeal revenant. The HP is non-applicable. So we talked about it being more than just HP to kill it. You have to do something special. The doctor can be staggered, but can only be defeated by burning its original remains, which are buried in the woods. Did we touch on what staggered means? I know it's been highlighted a couple times. I don't remember if we saw what that means.
I don't think we've gotten there yet. I think that might be at the end of this section.
Gotcha.
Maybe...
The speed, well, we'll control F it and try to find it in a second. Yeah. So the speed is 25%, which means it's slow, but it can teleport. The horror is 75% because it exudes raw horror and radiates the sound of crying children. And it can temporarily convert players into its acolytes, and the ferocity is 55%. The doctor can attack with its scalpel for 1d10 damage or vomit acidic bile for 2d10 damage. So I think that an average attack is just 1d10. And then everything above that, it gets harsher and harsher and harsher. So vomiting acidic bile from the big bad is only 2d10. It seems like 1d10 is pretty average hit, and you just kind of go up from there. So 3d10 might actually be like a pretty brutal hit. Yeah. But if you hit with a bat with your specialty and get really good, I would give 2d10 for a specialty hit. 1d10 for base hit, 2d10 for specialty hit is what it feels like for me. Feels good. Mm-hmm. And then a crit maybe even throws a little more. And then those are the 3 monsters. And then the special one, I love this piece of art here too, where there's this like, I don't even know what the fuck.
It's a melon head being disemboweled.
Yeah. And like all of it's like squirting juice from everywhere.
I want this as a tattoo.
That's pretty fucking disgusting and dope. I love it.
I like
it. Get it right on them cheeks. Creeping Spawn is the special. It's some other horror stalking the mansion, but growing inside of it. So it's a diabolical mold that absorbs living flesh, creating hybrids of human and animal flesh. It scrabbles at doors of quarantine rooms which contain key items. The spawn will be largely immobile, but can spit out multiple limbed freaks, which crawl around in search of creatures to infect. HP is 1 to 3, speed is 0 to 30%, the horror is 55%, and the ferocity is 45%. So again, and then another gorgeous, huge piece of art here that ties in with the other spread, which is great. I love the context of everything that they just did for creating an adventure, walking through from the context of the GM and writing it as if you were writing it. That is such a clever way to give context for a rules-lite zine. I think it's fantastic. And actually answer the question that we had just a bit ago on what's an average hit.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole section right there is like honestly just amazing. And it, you know, even with the page before it with the little chapter title page or whatever with the haunted house on it, like
Mm.
I just love that because I immediately was like, you just instantly can come up with all kinds of ideas for like, I don't even need to populate this with anything. It's just a fucking nasty house that these people, I don't know, did they get a bunch of people got kidnapped and they're going to be turned into melon heads or something? Now they escaped and now they have to get out. Like, you know, it's just super easy, quick, fast, just throw it on the table, go. Like, I love it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Fear and sanity. This is the section for that. We're past all the monsters, and these are the bonus stuff that you can add to it. So fear and sanity. Most horror RPGs have fear or sanity system to represent emotional and psychological toll. Sometimes it can be really fun and squishy. It's an optional mod. Some people don't like that. So it makes sense. This is kind of one of those like talk to your players beforehand. Some people might be down for like gross stuff, but might not be down for like sanity and things like that, depending on, you know, whatever they feel like. So it's nice to have as an optional mod, and something you can talk to your players about. So the brain drain, downward spiral of insanity. This is not something you can spring on your players mid-game. It's an extra step in character creation. Basically, the GM asks the players to pick which stat: brains, moxie, or survival. So which of your three stats, brains, moxie, or survival, are you going to pick for your sanity?
Oh, I mean, it would probably be. I assume it would be my superstar, which would be oh, sorry, no, my brains monster survival. It would be my highest one on that. Would be brains, which is my okay.
Yeah. So brains. So you they have the highest. So yeah, whichever one has the highest, the GM will tell you to set that number as your sanity. So your sanity is also okay. When you witness a new creature or horrific event, like seeing the BBEG for the first time, you must make a sanity save attempt to roll under your existing sanity score. If you fail, you lose 1d10 sanity at a minimum. So if you're just okay at brains, which would be what, like a, I don't remember what the table for that stat was. You would have you said you're okay. That's a 55%.
55%.
So yeah, every time you fail the save, you roll 1d10 and reduce your save by that. Mm-hmm. But you can regain sanity by killing monsters, sleeping, eating, or whatever. When sanity drops to 0, you become insane, or an NPC, and it's essentially death. But you can be cured if you get decent therapy. Yeah.
I have a decent therapist, so I think I'll be all right.
There you go. So there's actually 2 ways to do insanity. That's the first one, is basically like a constant reduction in your insanity over time. The second one is the freak out meter. This is called the pressure cooker. It's something that GM can spring on the players mid-game. The GM simply needs to tell them to take X points of fear when they fail a horror check or witness something awful. When a situation reaches a suitable crisis point, the GM asks players to roll 2d10. If the player rolls under their current fear, they freak out. The GM will then give the player 3 tough choices of how they're going to freak out, and the player will pick one. Fear can be shed by killing monsters, sleeping, and doing it. So this is more of like a panic mothership table.
Yeah.
So if these were your 2 options as a GM, would you do more of the brain drain, or would you do more of like the freak out panic?
¿Por qué no los dos?
I mean, I guess theoretically you could do both, but
no, I would probably do the freak out meter. Obviously I would let them know ahead of time if that's a thing I'm going to have in the game, but I would prefer that one just because I feel like it would be more fun to pop. But I definitely think that if you were planning to play a longer term game, then the brain drain would probably be something that would be interesting to see happen over several sessions.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can do both. One is sanity and one is sanity and one is fear. So you absolutely could do both, I guess. Yeah. This definitely would, though, add I think like a big like level to your rules-lite game to have both sanity and fear, having 2 more stats on top of everything that you're doing. Yeah. I think that would, I don't know if I would use these for one-shots, but I would use this for like arcs or longer campaigns for sure.
I would probably use the freak out meter for a one-shot if I felt it was chunky enough of like a spooky thing, you know, because it's just a quick one-off kind of event. But yeah.
I think freak out meter definitely reminds me of like the kind of like jump scare movies, and the brain drain definitely reminds me more of like the slow burn, like ratcheted up tension, like in the background kind of thing too. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Then we have XP and leveling up. If you want to continue your quick start squishy one shot into a campaign, you're gonna have to let the players get stronger over time. They're proposing two methods for gaining XP and leveling up. First is just the XP increase. It's a straightforward, simple method, getting more capable over time. Passing milestones, and I love milestone over XP leveling, unless XP is gold, or pulling off impressive feats, i.e. scoring a headshot with a rifle or something like that. The players gain a point of XP, which they can spend to increase one of their stats by 5%, capping at 85. I think that's clever. I really like that.
Yeah, it's good. Super
and then
simple.
the B movie Nitro. This is mechanic. This one says, and I'm quoting, "This is a mechanic I'm really proud of. It's one of the main mechanisms in a more in-depth RPG system I have in the works called Legends of the Video Wasteland." Where is Legends of the Video Wasteland? Because
I don't know.
Emmett, let's come on.
Shit up. Hold up.
Yeah.
Look that up.
So it is intended to mechanically illustrate the process of how heroes in genre movies become increasingly unkillable and unrealistically capable as their sequels progress. Think Ash from Evil Dead. How it works is that when a player pulls off a risky maneuver or one-liner or something just straight up cinematically badass, the game awards them a nitro point. A point of nitro can be spent to automatically pass any roll or shrug off any damage. If you save up 5 points of nitro, you can burn them to bring one stat up one level, i.e. from kind of good to okay. Ooh. Doing this one will allow your character to take on a character class from the upcoming Legends of the Video Wasteland game and 2 of their feats. Come on, man. Give us this Legend of the Video Wasteland then.
So watch this space.
So both are really interesting. I think that the Nitro movie one obviously requires you to have Legend of the Video Wasteland associated with it, because it specifically says that you get to take a character class from that game, so you need that game to do it. So I guess XP increase is a way to go from there. Psi and Magic is the next one. It adds another stat to the game, similar to Sanity. It can be used for Psi or Magic. The GM can have this in play from the start or spring it mid-game. You can set your Survival Brains or Moxie as your Psi or Magic point. So Survival Brains or Moxie, if we're already using Sanity, which is your brains, what are you going to do for Psi? I guess it could also be brains, but...
Yeah, I would probably use Psi. I wouldn't want to use Moxie.
Sure. Moxie sucks.
See a Survival... possibly, but I would probably just go with brains.
Gotcha. Failed magic costs 1d10 sanity / fear. So every time you fail magic, you reduce your sanity or fear stat by 10%, which I love. I love magical failures. I think they're really fantastic. I love the idea of magic being innately dangerous, and anyone who chooses to fuck around with it can hurt themselves as much as help themselves. So there's low magic, high magic, and psi in here, which is cool. Low magic is mainly used on ritual and creation of sigils and talismans. Players tell the GM what the intent of the magic is, and the GM makes a secret roll to see if they pass. I talked about secret rolls earlier. Essentially, the player making a monkey's paw style wish that can affect the course of events but not directly break the laws of physics, and the starting threshold to pass is 15%. But the players can spend magic points to raise their odds and XP to raise the base. Damn, magic is hard in a low magic setting. 15% like roll that. And you're spending XP to increase it.
And
That's crazy.
And it may not even be the thing you want. I love that.
And you're gonna every time, and if you fail it, you're taking sanity damage. Damn, that is how I love magic. That is literally exactly how I love magic. Really great. Psychic players can pick up one type of psychic specialty per and can add other specialties per level of nitro. Again, we're getting to this nitro thing, but it really ties into a game that I don't see. I don't know if you saw it on their itch page. But we'll have to look into that. So to use, roll against the stat chosen to run psi, and take 1d10 point of sanity fear when they use it. Failures cause a misfire, where the powers go wrong and blast out uncontrollably. So same thing, like you're just rolling under the stat that you chose for it. And it talks about pyrokinesis, telekinesis, cryokinesis, electrokinesis, telepathy, and remote viewing. And then there is, oh shit, there's literally a weapon damage table. So all that bitching and moaning that I was doing earlier.
I noticed that earlier, but I didn't want to say anything.
We should just, maybe that should be up where it talks about weapon damage.
It probably should. It probably should be quite earlier in here, because this is about magic, and the weapon damage just kind of feels like tacked onto the stage. Yeah, it should definitely be in the combat section.
Yeah, for sure. And then I wouldn't have had to complain so much. High magic. They say, I'm under the opinion that high magic should feel, well, magical. Duh. So while maybe at some point I will put out a grimoire of interesting prompts for rituals or spells, I really don't think a rigid list of this kind of projectile does this kind of number of damage is very exciting. So if you want to play a wizard, you can do magic, any magic. You tell the GM what kind of magic you want to do. The GM says, okay, make a magic roll, and the GM decides where this falls on the difficulty table. So it gives a table here. Impossible is 95%, very hard is 80, hard 75, etc., etc., etc. Simple is 25%. To the player can spend magic points to raise their odds, and XP to raise the base by 5% per point. So shouldn't this be reversed? Am I wrong? Do you suddenly do like a roll over? Yeah. So impossible should be 25% and simple should be 95%. Unless suddenly they go backwards on it. So, and basically they're basically saying high magic, I'm addressing it, but I'm not really caring a whole lot, which means you could have just not had it in here. You could have just had low magic be magic and got rid of this. I'm fine with that.
I could see a reason why they might want to include it, because there's plenty of great horror movies that include high magic, like Wishmaster and what is it, Lord of Darkness or something like that. There's a lot of really good 80s horror movies with like high magic, but
you think Wishmaster is this version of high magic where a character is a wizard, as opposed to the low magic where they get like one wish but it's not what they want kind of thing?
Lord of Illusions, thank you, Insane Ozo. I guess it's probably actually more low magic. Lord of Illusions, I think might be more high magic, but then again, it is only one character. Yeah. And I'm trying to think. I know that there's more. I can't think off the top of my head what they are. Like
Leprechaun, right? Where you get one wish, but it totally fucks you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's a valid reason to include this. I do think that, and I don't hate the way that he wrote it, honestly. Like, I kind of like agree with what he said. I do think that maybe it just needed to be more. Yeah, maybe just like I feel like there was less effort put into this specific section than there was for the low magic like rules, right?
Well, and it specifically says that they put less effort into it, and I just think that at that point, if you're just gonna be like, man, let me slap it in, this is where a TTRPG could just say, then the core doesn't need it, and I'll just have it in the expansion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hellraiser absolutely would be high magic. Yeah,
for sure.
I think.
Cybernetics. The player wants to be a cyborg, no problem. Add a new stat, energy, or even just a lightning bolt mark will do. Set your brawn as your energy. Pick a way to charge your cybernetic, batteries, power grid, whatever. And every time you want to use your augmentation, you have to roll against your current energy. Success or failure reduces the energy by D10. See, that I think is a like super quick, smart, sticks with it. That I love that. Again, weapon damage should be up at the top. In the combat section where it talks about doing damage. So the list here says suggested weapon damage. Knives and hammers do D10 plus D10 per turn of bleeding. Club, swords, and machetes do 2D10. So plus D10 per turn of bleed if bleeding. Small arms do 3D10. So literally your baseball bat would do 2D10 and a gun would do 3D10. Rifles and shotgun do 3D10.
I'd have a 20% chance of one-shotting at 2 HP.
Yeah. Because 10 if
which is
10 fun. Yeah. Rifles and shotguns 3d10 instant kill / monster HP loss up close. And then explosives are instant kill / reduce monsters to 1 HP, and claymores and giant clubs are instant kills. And that's about it. There's 2 random
That's funny. When I read Claymore under explosive, I thought Claymore mine, and I was like,
Oh,
why is that not under the explosive section? But then I remembered that it's also a sword.
a giant sword. Yeah.
Yeah.
Random tables. There's 2 of them. Exploring a mystery shrouded town. So there's a D20 table. So let's just say number 9. It says suburban kids are reporting an old lady knocking on their window at night, beckoning them towards the woods. There you go. And then there's a random table for exploring a sinister mansion. We'll do number 9 again. A room encrusted with slugs and snails. A decrepit figure sits in the center of the room on a wooden chair. It looks like a human-sized doll, but seems to be breathing. Something much larger than a slug can be heard moving around the cluttered furniture just out of sight. And then there is exploring oppressive underground tunnels. Number 9 says the walls are lined with spikes, and below rickety floorboards lie more sharpened cruelty. A terrible place for an enemy to suddenly appear. And then I love this. There is an art index by page. So it literally has page by page, all art by Mike Wassian, and it has the name of each piece of art on it, which is really fantastic. I love that they gave a whole page to the artist. And then the back cover.
The only problem is I think that the pages are actually
misnumbered.
Only because I think
it might be the old.
3,
yeah
4.
Because the zine only goes to page 21, 20 and 21, but
yeah, I think they forgot to update
art,
the page index.
Yeah, because art shows down to page 23, but the zine only goes to page 21. So yeah, just a little typo there. But still, regardless, I do really like that they have a whole page dedicated to the artist, which is really cool. And then, like we said, the back cover is the table of contents, which again, I would have much preferred to be, instead of the back cover, to just be the in pages on the inside cover here. I think that would have been a better place to put it. Maybe have something like this on the back or something. But that's it. That is Squishy. Why don't we do a zine review of this real quick, and then we're going to talk about Dead Horse a little bit.
Dude, I really like this fucking game though. Like, I've been talking to Kristen about putting out This House is Haunted, another edition of that book this year, and I was just realizing how good that would go for something like this, because the random tables in the back are perfect. Like, that's all, that's like stuff I included in that book last year. I would love to. I should get in contact with this guy and see if we can work together, because I think that'd be really cool.
Hit them up. The itch page, and because I did say earlier that we were gonna do we were gonna make sure we talked about the Squishy ttrpg. Their itch page is Sugary Head. .itch.io. Let me throw that into the chat here real quick, and I'll pin that up there. So Sugary Head, and I did want to see what else is on the page to see if they there is Indwelling Malevolence, which is a buyer terror reigns and survival TTRPG. There is some point and click adventures, which look really, really cool. There is Phobophobia, which is the point and click. There is the Squishy Campfire Carnage. You will die before the fire does. There's another adventure besides the Halloween Babysitter and Dance to Your Dead for Squishy. So I got to snag that. It's only $4. And then the Terror Zone of the Astro Creep and Squishy. So I do not see the game that they were referencing, but hopefully it will be coming out, because if this is the quick start and that next one maybe is like this but expanded into a full game, I would love to see that, because I really enjoyed this game a lot.
Yeah, I really do. This is such a cool game. I've been wanting to play this for a long time.
Well, you know what? When we get to side quests, Ryan. Yeah. Listen, for those out there listening, try to hold me accountable. Message me or drop a comment and follow on our stuff, and say, hey, don't forget to start side quests. So here we go. This is Squishy. This is a zine. When we do most of our reviews for a full-size game, we usually do 5 metrics. For zines, we have squished it down to 3 metrics. So it is visuals, rule set, and vibes. So what those means are, visuals is the art, which is the style, the quality, everything. Visuals also represents all of the like graphic design, the layout, the readability, all the functionality, all that stuff. Basically, when you look at any aspect of this, that's visuals, right? Rule set is if it is a new rule set, is it good? Do we enjoy it subjectively or objectively? And if it is an adapted rule set, how well is it adapted and have they made it their own? And vibes are a mix of like originality and just like how bad you want to play it, why you want to play it so bad, and just overall, like, does the zine itself speak to what the zine is and what it wanted to be, and even like does the description of the game feel like what it was? Like once you finish reading it, do you feel like you understand the game, and does it make you want to play the game? That is what vibes are. So visually, just thoughts overall before we get to the score. What are your thoughts overall visually? Talking about quality, quantity, layout, everything for the art and everything.
I mean, visually it's fucking fabulous. This is like my shit. Like the gory sludgy flesh, intestines being like torn apart and asunder, like that's the stuff I love. The layout is incredible. Die like absolutely fucks, seriously, like this is just unbelievable. The artwork is just amazing. Yeah, I mean, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think, like you said, the art in general by Mike Wassian, like you said, is absolutely stunning. There's a lot of full page pieces of art for a zine this small too, which is really fantastic. But the layout too, you know, Merkborg had kind of got a bad rap for people being like, I can't read it. It is an incredibly readable book when you really look at it. There's never a time where there's like a lot of texture behind font and stuff like that. And this layout is kind of similar. There's no really white pages, but there's never a time where the font, where the text isn't really black on white or white on black. It's very, very readable for still being very like graphically designed and art heavy. Yeah, visually, I think at the end of the day, like gruesome, gross horror is what the whole thing visually screams the entire time, and I think that's exactly what it wanted to be. So visually, I think it's really, really, really well done. I think it really kind of the one that it's going to really mirror for me, as far as comparing it to other scores, is going to be Below Dwelling Sewer Mutants. I think visually it really hits the same thing. I mean, it's the same. That one's a little bit more sludge than gore, but it still hits the same thing. So, what are you thinking for art for Below Dwelling Sewer Mutants? We did give a 9 for the visual on that, because for all the reasons that we said right now.
I forgot I had some stickers left from that book. You know what? You gave BDSM a 9.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, I'm flipping through it right now. I would match that, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too.
I think that the art is not to knock the art in BDSM at all, but I think that the art in Squishy is much better, or much more. I shouldn't say better, but much more visually like shocking, I guess, to me, in a good way that makes me go, oh fuck yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a different vibe. I love the fucking art in BDSM.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I definitely think there's more art in this as well too. I mean, it jumps off the page. Like it is.
I wasn't trying to say it's not good art,
here.
Obviously, but
right. Just a little different. Speaks to you a little more.
Yeah.
I'm happy with a 9. I really think visually what I want from a zine, this gives me artistically. So I can't think of anything better as far as quality, quantity, layout, all those kind of things. There's not really a loss at all visually and all of that. Rule set. Okay, so it is ultra light. And although I do like that, like I said, I think there are some parts that are, I think, hand wavy in both a good way and a bad way. I do really enjoy how simple it is. So, but that's always kind of like a double-edged sword a little bit, where do I feel like it's too simple at times, where like I wouldn't mind like a little bit more to bite into. It really, this is where it gets hard to do both, to be a little bit objective as opposed to subjective in this, because it's really going to come down to how you feel about rule sets. If you like something this simple, or if you want something a little bit more. Personally, I really enjoy it, but I wouldn't mind just a little bit more. Like, I do feel like when it's slightly, there's parts of it that are a little bit hand wavy that I feel like it's this war in my mind where it's saying, is it hand wavy or is it under designed a little bit? So I feel like maybe there is maybe like 10% of this in a couple areas, maybe a little bit less, that is maybe a little bit under designed, that could have been maybe like, I think High Magic could have been a little bit, even though they say like, and my other issue too is where it specifically references a game that doesn't exist yet. I think you're creating rules for something that you can't use. So that kind of, yeah. So I think it's about 10% of the game that's a little bit underdeveloped. But, and I think it was because the game, it's a quick start. And I think this does feel like once you hear about that other game, maybe this is supposed to like lead into that. But then that kind of takes away from the game being standalone. So I like I said, I really enjoyed the game, but I do feel like maybe it is just like a little bit undercooked on the edges, just a smidge. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I especially the parts that mention his future game, I was kind of a little bit like, you didn't have to, especially for the B movie Nitro section for experience and leveling up. I feel like you could just have explained how it works and kind of left it at that. Tying a game that doesn't exist yet into here kind of like drags me out of the space a little bit. The rules overall, though, I like the vagueness to a degree. I think I agree with you. I think that some of it is a bit too empty. However, I do also think that some of that had to do with just like layout choice, which I don't know if it's necessarily layout choice on the graphic design end as much as layout in the actual writing of the game. Like the weapon damage, that section could have clarified so much for us if it was way earlier on in the book.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's if we were in like a full like 5 metric game, that would definitely fall into like the functionality layout section, because that's a big beef we have sometimes where it's just like, why did you put this section here when if it was 20 pages earlier, you would answer a lot of questions. Completely agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So I like, for me, like that kind of like doesn't knock points away, but that just kind of made it a little bit difficult to like parse, like, okay, am I just guessing at this? And then like all the last page of the book, you're like, oh wait, that's how it works. But overall, I feel like the system is extremely simple for the rule set is extremely simple for, especially for players who are like, you come over to watch a movie and then your fucking power goes out or some shit. Like you have a bunch of people over to watch fucking Friday the 13th or something, and whatever. You could throw this on the table and make characters in literally like 10 seconds and then play Friday the 13th real quick. Like, I just feel like that would be you could do that. So I kind of like that, but I do agree that some of the things are just a little too hand wavy.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's just a little bit, just a touch undercooked. And it does feel like maybe it's because it is a quick start for maybe something more. But I wish it was just a little bit more standalone. Not to say it's not great, like you said. Probably my favorite part really is how abstracted the character creation part is. I really enjoy that. It's just, like I wouldn't mind just a little bit more in this, maybe another page or two. So what are you thinking for this?
I'd probably go with like a mid 7.
Yeah, I think 7 is exactly where I was. So five is bang average, but this is also kind of like, I feel like we say 5 is bang average, but we don't do bad games, so we don't really get to 5. So this almost feels a little bit like high school, a little bit like 100% on a paper versus 90% on a paper versus 70% on the paper. Still passing, still average, like that's fine. But if you got 50% on the paper, like, I mean, you didn't get a 0, but yeah, I think 7 feels good for this. Vibes.
I mean, I like it a lot. I definitely want to play it very soon. I actually am in a horror creators TikTok creators Discord that with some really cool people who are like filmmakers and all kinds of stuff. And I've been talking about running liminal horror in there. But now I'm kind of like, I kind of want to run this in there instead, because like liminal horror, obviously fucking fantastic game. I love it. And I definitely want to run it, but most of these people are extremely busy and have a lot of stuff going on. So running the mall or the bureau is not really something I could really do unless I just like cranked out the story really fast and made everything working within like a 2-hour session. But like this, I feel like I could just do a quick pickup game for like an hour and a half and just like, once everybody dies, the game's over. Like, fuck it. Like, I feel like that's great. It would be the perfect kind of game for that kind of situation. So I definitely am excited to try and run this. The artwork really just drags me in, man. Like,
yeah.
Like this is one of the games that like I don't fucking know what the discourse is, but fuck the discourse. Like if you tell me that this doesn't give you the vibes of what the game is telling you the vibes are supposed to be, or that's not relevant or important, like you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Like
I couldn't agree more. I really do. I think the vibes are super high on this. So vibes in general is really it really comes down to like once you finish the zine, once you've read the rules, once you've looked at the visuals, like, really like originality is tossed in this too. Have you played a lot of other like super gore horror games? That's kind of tossed in here too. It's also kind of like the default. Like if there's something that really stands out that doesn't fit in the other two, it goes in here. I think it's really good. I think it's high vibes. I want to play it. I'm gonna be honest. Like when we were comparing this to something like Below Dwelling Super Mutants, when I finished that, I did want to play that one a little bit more than this. I really enjoy this. But I think I felt like my issue with this is the rule set for me does kind of it does, I don't know, drag it down just a little bit for me. Like the feeling how it's a little bit like underdeveloped as you finish the zine kind of makes me like slightly less excited for playing it. So it takes it down just like a notch for me. But this is definitely one that I want to play super bad. Like that's not to say that this isn't fantastic, that I think this is
for sure.
a wonderful game with fantastic art. But just objectively and when comparing it to other things. So I'm probably, I mean, we gave BDSM a 9. This is not a 9 for me, which is like almost perfect. This is, I don't know, this is between a 7 and an 8 for me.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at. I was thinking 8 because it is kind of perfect for like my situation. But I could definitely see a 7 working just because of having that kind of fading rules at the end of the book kind of diminishes the excitement just a tiny bit, but not too much.
No, but then you flip through it and you see this page that I brought up like a million times, and you're just like, fuck,
That's gonna be my whole back piece is gonna be that.
It's so fucking good. I think they liked our tweet. Just reach out to Mike Wassian. Really fantastic. Really, really awesome. You should definitely get them a Dead Horse too. But yeah, where are you at? 7 or an 8?
I'm gonna be harsh this week and say 7.
Okay, I'm down with that. I was okay being a little bit harsh too. So
I'm usually 9 plus, very, very, very not harsh.
You are. You're like, well, I'm going to give it all 10s. We're like,
everybody gets a 10, baby.
Yeah, we can't do that. But yeah, so this is a it's 14 plus 9 is a 23 overall, and that puts it at the same score. That actually gives it the same score as Skate Wizards, which I think is good because I do think that shines in different ways comparatively. So I think that feels really, really good. Pax and Blades was a 21 as far as when we're talking about zine scores and stuff. So I do think that the art really elevated it above and beyond that. But yeah, I think this feels good. And that is squishy. So another reason that our de facto third host is here tonight is to talk about Dead Horse issue 1. So I'm gonna kick over to this page here. And what, pray tell, is Dead Horse?
All right, Dead Horse is our new, I guess, horror anthology magazine that Disaster Tourism is publishing. Kind of started as a something else, and then I just kind of moved into it being a horror anthology after I don't even know, like maybe like 4 or 5 days of kicking it around as an idea. But I'm just so fucking happy with this magazine. It is just so good. We've got 30 plus contributors in this magazine. There's fiction, short fiction, there's game entries, there's solo games, there's gameable material, there's poetry, there is a lot of artwork from a bunch of different artists. It's just it's fucking fantastic. I'm this is like one of the coolest things I think that I've ever done. Like and I didn't even actually do anything in the magazine. I just have been like the project manager and like kind of like doing all the financial stuff and like marketing and all that stuff behind the scenes. But like I am this is literally the coolest thing that I've ever put together, and I'm so happy with it. It's so cool. Ask me questions about it. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, so what was the impetus for starting the magazine in the first place? Like why did you want to do, first of all, why Dead Horse?
Dead Horse was the name of my disaster tourism newsletter. Still is, but and that started as me beating a dead horse and talking about discourse, and then I was like, I shouldn't do that. But I just liked the name because the name was cool. So I stuck with it. And then it just kind of turned into that. After a little bit, I wanted to do like a game magazine that focused on like creators of games, and then like featured entries from a bunch of different contributors, like kind of around that topic of that game. But and so I have Nick from Goblin Archives. We did an interview with him in this first issue, and so our topic was uncanny or unsettling horror. After I kind of set that up, I was like, you know what, fuck this. It's not going to be a tabletop game exclusive thing. It's just going to be a horror magazine because I just love horror. It's like my favorite fucking thing in the world. So I just want it to be a horror magazine. I talked to Christian Sorrell, Meat Castle Gameware. You got a lovely t-shirt there. They're our editor in chief. And my partner Kristen is the art director for the magazine. And we just kind of decided, you know what, fuck it. It's a horror magazine. Like, we'll just go crazy with it and see what happens next time. But we got a lot of good submissions in here. Wasps by David Garrett is just incredible. It's probably one of the fucking weirdest, most uncomfortable stories. I actually did a voiceover recording for it that I'm going to eventually put on the website here. And then we've got a really cool solo game from Exient Press called Music in Its Roar. We've got a comic and a solo game about giant mutant cockroaches from Novecento Manfredi. There's like tables, there's little tiny mini games, there's short fiction, longer fiction with like Christian's entry here, Can You Keep a Secret, has like actual like stats for you to include the fictional creature in his entry in your various RPG games if you wanted to do that. We've got a couple entries kind of like that. Just really cool stuff. And I really want to do more stuff like this, but expand that more, focus more on like the writing aspect of it, but still leave it open for gameable materials, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff in both camps, but there's not really anything that's kind of in the middle, right? There's a lot of game stuff, there's a lot of fiction and poetry, but there's not like anything that really just like is all of it. And so that's what that is. I just talked a lot about it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, no, it's really fantastic. I love that it's the progression from it being like a TTRPG magazine to kind of like a TTRPG adjacent magazine. I think is really fantastic because you are a fantastic tabletop role playing game designer. So to completely divorce yourself from that, I think would almost be like a disservice. And also a lot of the people that we know, I think a lot of the people that are your friends
Yeah.
and stuff like that are also in the scene. So to have something that can bridge that gap, like you just said, between fiction and still having gameable material, I think not only speaks to the people that are going to be reading it, but I also think speaks to a lot of incredibly talented, creative people that you and I know that want to write for it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think there are plenty of people that have fantastic prose, but also, like you just said here, have a little bit of gameable material that could be thrown in. That is absolutely fantastic. I mean, is the plan going forward? I mean, it sounds like it's going to constantly evolve. As of right now, it is a horror
most
magazine.
definitely. Yeah.
But the plan is to kind of keep it as that bridge, right? To be able to have like some gameable material mixed in
Absolutely.
with all the fiction going forward. So it's never going to be completely divorced from the scene.
I don't think so. I mean, I really think it's very interesting to see people that I only know of writing game entries and game books and things to submit just short fiction. And it's like, wow, these people, like you had said, wow, they really actually have some chops, like with their prose, like this is actually good shit. Or we had like 2 or 3 poems I think submitted that one of them we really wanted to include, but we just couldn't. And I was just like, these are really good, like these people are actually really good writers. Like this is it's not surprising, but like when you're writing game rules, it's not the same as writing like just fiction. Or so it's interesting. Expanding on the magazine in the future it's going to be whatever it turns out to be, but I'm never going to turn down game entries. Like I think that the ones we got for this specific issue, our first issue, we got way more than I wanted, to be honest, just because I was like, I wanted like maybe like 30% that, 30% art, 30% fiction and poetry kind of thing. And we ended up with probably like 60% game entries and probably like 20% fiction and like 15 or 20% artwork, which I'm not complaining. We got a lot of fucking really good stuff. And it was really hard to pick everything, but I do hope to kind of hit like a balance with that in the future, where as we spread out and get bigger and get more people to submit things, we can get a really good, like really like difficult to choose from pool of material from all over the writing spectrum and art spectrum too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'll evolve. We'll see what happens. But I mean, the game entries, like, there's no reason not to include them if they're fun and creepy and cool. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. What happens? So I'm not a magazine editor and whatnot. What happens to the entries that aren't chosen? Do they just the person that created them just has them, or is there going to be like a dead horse B-sides that just like they get put to somewhere that people can have like downloads for it or something, or like what happens with that?
For anybody that didn't get chosen for this issue, I mean, they're welcome to submit this. If they want to submit the same piece again for the next one, they're welcome to do that. They're also everybody. So the magazine is profit share, so everybody retains full rights of their work. So a lot of people may choose to go on and publish their own thing. Like if they wrote a little game for the magazine and it didn't get published, it didn't get chosen, they can put it on their itch and sell it. Like the people who did get chosen can also put it on their itch and sell it. They can print it in their own book if they want. They can send it to another anthology if their fiction is good enough and they want it to print in another anthology. It's all none of that is relevant to me. I don't care what they do with their work. The only thing I care about is trying to get people to buy this magazine so that everybody can make more money off of their work, because the more issues that sell, the more that person gets paid out based on their share.
Yeah.
So
So talk about that model a little bit with the whole profit share thing and everything, that which is also, I think, different than a lot of what magazines do. So just why did you go with that model? And I, I'm in your Discord as well, so there's been a lot of transparency with a lot of that stuff. Just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm fucking communist, so that's one that's one reason. But I as enticing as it is, even now, looking at the numbers of sales, like I'm to be like, oh man, that would be so nice to have that money as profit, and like scrubbing my dirty little greedy hands together. I'm still like, no, like this, it doesn't have to be. Like, these people submitted work to something that I organized, but this is their work. They deserve to be paid like an equal share of like the labor that they put into it. You know, we put a lot of labor into the magazine. Kristen and I and Christian put a lot of work into this, like a lot. But that doesn't mean that the people who submitted their written work didn't also put in, you know, they may not have put, I wouldn't necessarily say on a meter that they put in the same amount of labor as me and Kristen, because we had a lot more things to hand. We, you know, Christian had to edit every single written entry. And Kristen had to do all of the art direction, all the layout for the entire magazine, go over several things dozens of times, you know, dozens of hours on that front. And me, I've just been, you know, making spreadsheets like crazy and figuring out all these financial things and trying to, you know, find the best printers, and all the numbers is not easy. But that, all that to say, like, these people still submitted work that they deserve to be paid for. And a lot of anthology magazines and stuff, they might pay you like 20 or $30 if it's a smaller one. And, you know, good for them. That's fine. If that works for them, that's great. But I would hope that I can provide a lot more than that with whatever little reach I have through this magazine. And it also helps because if somebody is really excited about their entry being chosen and the magazine is really cool, they're going to want to sell it. It's not just like, thanks for my $25, I'll take a comp copy, have fun. It's like, thanks for my comp copy, everybody should go buy this, because the more you buy, the more I get paid for my work. Like, I just think that's cool. You know, I want everybody to work that way. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's about labor, getting the fruits of that labor,
Yeah.
as opposed to one fucking robber baron just choosing to take all of it. But yeah, I mean, the magazine seems fantastic. I'm really excited for it. Maybe one day I'll put an entry into it. Maybe there's a little something in there because above and beyond just all that, there's ads in here too.
Yes.
Yeah, some really fantastic, cool stuff from some cool people.
There's a podcast or
And
something called like the
yeah,
Adventure Archive and the Weekly Scroll or something like that. Yeah.
something's in there, yeah. But and then yeah, just I mean, when you go through the actual the list of contributors, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I don't want to, it's up here on the screen for those that see it, but I mean, and without, you know, not listing everybody, but you know, people that we speak with a lot, Exient Press, who put your the video together that's been playing on here. I mean, like you said, Christian, Cassie Mothwin is even in here, who is like one of the sweetest people ever, but has also written some like really dark horror stuff, which is interesting with the Groat Man and whatnot.
There are two names missing from this list that I just actually added in tonight to the actual magazine because I spaced on them, but that is W.H. Arthur and Richard Kelly. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned them because they're not on the screen. So if they're happening to be watching, know that I remembered your names.
There we go. But yeah, really great list. I mean, Silicondre too. Like, this is it's a fantastic list of writers and artists. You know, Gene Verne, Tony Jaguar. Like, just a fantastic list across all of this. I'm super excited for it. It's in pre-order right now, right?
Yeah, it's in pre-order on our website. You can get the pre-order is $20 for the physical print, and if you buy it in pre-order, you'll get a free copy of the PDF as soon as it's ready, which will be next Monday. And after the pre-order is over, it'll still be $20 for the print, but it'll be $10 for the digital, $20 for the print, and $25 for print and digital. So if you want the digital for free and you want to get it a little bit in advance, pick up the pre-order now. And all of that one thing I did want to mention is talking about the profit share thing. All the financials, I'm keeping an open record of that in a public spreadsheet that I have on the website that you can click and you can look and you can see every contributor's name, every person on the staff, the people who worked on it, how many shares everybody gets, how many wholesale sales we have, how many retail pre-order sales we have, and in the future, how much they all cost, what the cost of the book was, how much the share sale is, all that stuff. Everything is completely public. I'm trying to keep myself extremely transparent with this because I want people to be encouraged to also submit because they know that I am doing my best to be as transparent as possible with the financials. And all the profit, the actual like final ass net profit of this is going to be divided out equally for everyone. Like that's, that's my goal. So
Fantastic. I mean, I'm super excited to get this physically in hand. You said the digital will be ready next Monday. So how long are pre-orders open for? I don't know if you said it.
Until Monday. Yeah. So the digital, as soon as pre-orders close, everybody that pre-ordered should be getting an email like that day or the next day, whenever I get the time to actually sit down and do it, to send out the pre-order download links, and you'll get the PDF. I'm trying to figure out if I can get an actual like Mobi or EPUB version of this that can like go onto an e-reader. Eventually, I'd like to put this on Amazon's Kindle thing, so I can get some sales on there too. But I'm having some issues with the transference of that. But so it'll likely be PDF Monday or Tuesday of next week,
Gotcha.
and that is when pre-orders will close.
Gotcha. So that would be July 10th or 11th next week. If you were listening to this in the future, you missed out. But if you're hearing it anytime soon, definitely go snag that. It's going to be absolutely worth it. I see 002 is already listed on the website at least. So if that's already in the works, very excited for number 2 to go, and for this to be
for that will open next week as well.
Fantastic.
So they're going to be open for like 6 months, though. There's not going to be any rush for that, but it's going to be open starting next week.
And then physicals get into our hands roughly, if all things go perfectly,
end of July, hopefully.
End of July. Okay, fantastic.
As long as Mix'em isn't too slow, but we'll see.
Yeah, fantastic. So Mix'em Print magazine, $20 right now on pre-order to get the print when it prints, and then the PDF next week for free. And then after next week, you're going to do $25 for print and digital. You definitely want to get this. You definitely want to not only read all the amazing stuff from these fantastic creators, but also go check out the rest of their stuff. Really excited for that. Really excited for more projects like this. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I think it's really, really amazing for the industry and the space to really, like each other instead of just talking shit on the hell site. So really cool, really fantastic. And again, check out everything from Kirby, including a couple of their new t-shirts that have come out recently. Let's talk about this one. Although I'm not a fan of the old cats here. Give me 1 second.
Ryan hates cats.
I do. They're terrible. But the shirt is fucking dope. Disaster tourism. Yeah. And then and also I convinced Kirby to add the Comfort Colors, the Hanes Comfort Colors shirt to the collection. And I highly recommend it. It's a heavyweight. It's the comfiest shirt ever, and now I get a bunch of them because of course I'm going to grab this one. And I don't know what this could possibly be a reference to here. It's this interesting like Logitech game controller.
It's a weird controller talking about some kind of disaster tourism thing. I'm not really sure. But
yeah, really interesting. So a couple of dope shirts on disastertourism.games. If you want to find the Dead Horse, it is, what is the site that goes directly to that? Deadhorse.pub?
Deadhorse.pub, yep.
Yep, and you'll find all the links to that. It also takes you to Disaster Tourism Games for everything like that. So, listen, that was Squishy. This was Dead Horse. Kirby, always fantastic. This is once again our de facto third host here. You'll be seeing them. I think I got to talk to you about another one in maybe a couple of weeks. We'll talk about something. Yeah. And we'll see what's going on with that. But Kirby, once again, thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for being in chat. And if you're listening, like we said, you can find Kirby's all of their stuff at disastertourism.games. You can find us at the.weekly.scroll on Instagram. My goal tonight is to finally update it. I did all the socials. I just have to post them. You can find us on YouTube at the Adventure Archive. We are climbing higher and higher on that, and may eventually switch our streaming from Twitch all the way to YouTube. So we'll talk about that. But if you are listening and want to just hit that subscribe button, that would actually be fantastic for us. And you can find us as long as it still exists on Twitter at weekly_scroll. So you guys all have a wonderful night, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah.